Hello everyone and welcome back to the Shipyards. I'm Commander Exorcist. Welcome to episode 23 of the After Action Report, my weekly show where I go over the news and happenings in the Space Engineers universe. But before we get started, if you enjoy the content I create on this channel, then be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and make sure notifications are turned on so that you don't miss any of my Space Engineers content. Let's see what's going on out there. This week started off with an announcement for our first Space Engineers developer livestream in over 3 weeks. Approximately 7 hours after this video goes live, Keen is scheduled to have a live stream celebrating the 12-year anniversary since the pre-release alpha of the game was published. On 23 October 2013, when I was much younger and slightly more handsome, early access to Space Engineers landed on Steam and gave rise to the incredible community of builders we know today. 12 years later, we're on the verge of seeing Update 1.208 released to further improve quality of life, and the game's successor, Space Engineers 2, is steaming toward its biggest update yet, where next-generation planets and survival fundamentals will finally arrive. Items of note from the Celebration livestream will be covered in next week's After Action Report. You'll find links in the description to Keen's official YouTube and Twitch channels. In this week's Dev Diary, Merrick reflected on 12 years of SE1 and heaped praise on the community for its ships, bases, and worlds that continue to surprise and amaze the development team over a decade later. This wealth of knowledge and experience is one of the reasons that advancement on SE2 is much more accelerated than its predecessor. For example, it was several years before planets were added to Space Engineers, and in contrast, we are due to receive planets and survival fundamentals in SE2 in the coming weeks, less than a year after it was first published. Merrick stated that the team is carrying on lessons and the spirit of Space Engineers 1 into SE2, making everything bigger, better, and designed for many more anniversaries to come. The experience of building and maintaining Space Engineers is certainly going to accelerate the arrival of comparable features in SE2 as time goes on. In Space Engineers, survival building consisted of obtaining a key component of the block you wanted to build, such as single steel plate for many of the early survival blocks. Engineers would then place the block on the grid and it would appear in its most basic constructed form, usually a mix of latticework beams. In SE2, engineers will build blocks using holographic projections in survival. A full holographic version of the block can be placed on the grid to give the engineer a complete visual representation of the block as it will appear when completed. This brings survival building somewhat on par with creative mode, in that engineers will have a better understanding of how the new block will fit into their project before committing resources to build it. If we take the video example provided as gospel, then it could be possible to build a complete holographic representation of your entire grid before spending a single resource on it, which will make survival building just as intuitive and useful as creative mode. In addition to these changes, block progression has also been overhauled. In Space Engineers, you could unlock new blocks by building a key block in the progress tree that would grant you access to parts of this building submenu. However, there was no significant visual indication other than seeing the block colors change in the G menu and a small notification. In SE2, engineers will receive a pop-up notification when new blocks are unlocked, adding another quality of life item that should make survival and progression much more intuitive while trying to navigate the Almagest system. Even in the depths of outer space, the ghost of Todd Howard lingers hauntingly among us. Merrick revealed in this week's diary that VS2 will include options for fast travel. In contrast to Space Engineers, where long travel or jump drives were the name of the game unless you use the spectator camera to fast travel, SE2 will include a native option to move through the Almagest system. Through block progression, engineers will eventually be able to craft advanced jump drive technology that will allow easy access to all points in Almagest. Until then, fast travel will provide engineers with the ability to quickly jump between major points in the system, such as Verdure, Chemic, and maybe even Whiterun or Riverwood, if we're not careful. Finally, we got a look at work on handheld weapons coming to SE2 sometime after VS2's release. In the early design renders, we see a prototype rifle with detachable sights. The idea of modular weapons in SE2 opens up a world of possibilities for customizing the on-foot combat experience using native assets instead of mods. Weapons in Space Engineers lacked any significant customization, and while these implementations are still a significant ways off, It shows the depth of the work going on behind the scenes to make SE2 the ultimate next-generation space sandbox experience. With Space Engineers celebrating its 12-year anniversary this week, what are some of your favorite memories? What do you think of using projected blocks for building in SE2 survival? And are you excited to assemble the rifle of your dreams when on-foot combat eventually arrives in SE2? Let me know in the comments below, and I'll be back next week with more Space Engineers. Until then, I'm Commander Exorcist. Take care, fly safe, and I will see you out there.